Well, folks, Economic Prepper here. The time to prepare is now. And the Federal Reserve, Fed Chairman Jerome Powell just released their plans going forward. And they also gave us a recap in terms of where we are right now with our economy, with the state of the housing market, the job market, the labor market, unemployment. And unfortunately, things are going to continue to get worse. And families now are warned to prepare. So the Federal Reserve has just finished their two-day meeting, and they indicated that they're going to be increasing the Fed funds rate an additional 75 basis points or 0.75 percentage points. So what this means is that this is the third 75 basis point rate hike in a row. And this is unprecedented, folks. This is unprecedented. This is going to affect everyone and everybody. Like, no one will be spared with these decisions. Credit card interest rates will be going up. Mortgage rates will continue to go higher. If you're looking to buy or refinance your house, your mortgage, it's going to cost you more money, which is increasing your monthly payments. Unemployment also will continue to rise. I will touch on that a little bit later in this video, but now is the time to prepare, folks. And we've been talking about this for many, many months, and we're starting to see some of the effects of what we've been discussing in previous videos. But the time to really pay attention is right now. So this 75 basis point rate hike increase from the Federal Reserve has increased the current Fed funds rate to around 3 to 3.25%. And what's even worse is that the Fed is projecting even larger increases in November and December of this year. So we're not at all at a Fed pivot point whatsoever. The Fed is continuing to move forward with their decisions, and more pain will be felt, as Fed Chair Jerome Powell had warned us previously. Businesses, small businesses, large businesses, the stock market, the housing market, all markets within the economy will be affected, will feel the pain. So again, the Federal Reserve is expecting and projecting larger rate increases in November and December. And the scary part is that the Fed's plans are still going in the wrong direction. Because if you guys remember, the Federal Reserve previously said that they wanted to get interest rates to 3.8%. We are very close to 3.8% right now. We're right around 3 to 3.25%. And so 3.8%, it's not very far away. Technically, that would be like another 75 basis point rate hike, and we would be at the Fed's target. However, with the trajectory that we're seeing economically with CPI reports and the core inflation reports, the Fed is not going to hit their target as expected. And the Fed is not admitting this to us. They're pretty much sugarcoating it, saying things here and there. They're not saying, hey, the economy is going to crash. But what they are doing is they're forcing the economy to crash. They're forcing the housing market to crash. And so, for example, the Federal Reserve is predicting that unemployment will rise from 3.7% to 4.4% of next year. I mean, we've already seen recently FedEx, the CEO of FedEx, which is a global company. FedEx is a US-based company, but FedEx is a global company. And the reason why the CEO is kind of going into kind of like a management mode, because they're trying to mitigate current losses and future expected revenue loss. Forget about revenue growth. Forget about expanding profit margins. Forget about improving balance sheets. Right now, it's more of a preparation state. And it's not just, for the peasants of the world like me and you to prepare for what is coming. Businesses are preparing. Businesses are seeing what is happening. Businesses, large and small, online businesses, it doesn't matter. Brick and mortar businesses, it doesn't matter. They're looking at these projections, they're looking at these reports, and are able to forecast what is coming. And what is coming is not very good right now. And when businesses forecast slowing of demand, slowing of capital availability, liquidity in the marketplace. When I say liquidity in the marketplace, in a nutshell, it just means like how much cash is available to be spent by people and other businesses. Even the availability of cash through loans will affect liquidity, especially that. And this is why the increase of the Fed funds rate is so important, because it will force liquidity to dry up. And when the liquidity dries up and people aren't spending money, well, what is a business going to do? The business's goal is to be profitable. But the next most important thing for a business to do is to survive. So if a business knows it will likely see declining profits and declining revenues going forward, they're going to focus their efforts on just surviving, so that when the tide does change, they can become profitable again and focus on expansion. But we're so far away from expansion and growth right now, it's unbelievable. And so what the businesses are focused on right now is reducing their overhead. And when I say reducing overhead, cutting expenses wherever that might be. Cutting expenses means, they're not going to buy that new piece of property to expand their business. They're not buying real estate right now. They're not looking to hire at the rate that they were hiring previously. In fact, many companies recently have started laying people off and firing workers so that they can reduce overhead. We're seeing, in many cases, companies reducing overhead to the tune of, say, 10%. But I've seen companies, and I've shared it with you guys on this channel previously, some companies have let go 30 to 50% of their workforce. Obviously, it depends on the industry that you're in, but keep this in mind. Also, these interest rate hikes, they're affecting credit cards. They're affecting car loans, mortgage payments, right? Read a report recently that most people, the average American, I don't know if I can say most people, will say the average American right now is struggling to make ends meet month to month, while a growing percentage of Americans are relying on their credit cards to make ends meet, meaning they're going to work, or maybe they're not going to work, who knows, or maybe they're not able to work enough because some employers don't provide enough hours, which is another cost-cutting initiative. By reducing total hours, that is technically not firing someone, it's not firing an employee, it's not laying off an employee, but it benefits the employer because it's lowering their payroll costs. So as people are continuously relying on Visas and MasterCards, American Express cards to make ends meet, they're driving up their credit card balances, and they're paying higher interest rates in the process, thanks to the Fed funds rate increasing. Well, guess what? At some point, those credit cards will reach their limits. The average person doesn't have a limitless credit card or credit line. So at some point, families are going to reach their cap on how much credit is available and how far they can essentially kick the can down the road and finance the gap between how much their income is and how much their expenses actually are. So you can't forever put groceries on your credit card. You can't do that forever without paying the balance down. And if you needed to rely on a credit card to make ends meet, well, guess what? Chances are the average American can't pay off their credit card. So at some point in time, there's going to be an economic collapse in American family households. And the question is, do you have a plan? Now, the other thing is that the Fed is not expecting core inflation to drop until sometime around 2025. The Federal Reserve's goal is to reach a 2% core inflation target. And originally we were told that they would be able to do that somewhere around 2023. Well, guess what, folks? Now the expected target for the Fed to reach core inflation at a 2% goal is 2025. So we've got at least 2-3 more years of pain ahead of us. And I'm going to be honest with you, they've been wrong before, and they're kind of wrong now. So even their projection of 2025, I don't know if I quite trust that. Now, the Fed also warns that there will be a big slowdown in the economy. And this kind of goes back to what we were talking about. You know, these reports are coming out. Businesses realize that economic slowdown is happening right now, and it's going to accelerate. And families must prepare for what is coming. Families have to prepare. CPI report came out for August at 8.3%. And the core inflation actually went up. And the core inflation is what Fed Chair Jerome Powell is basing his efforts on. So if the core inflation is going up, clearly their plans are not working and things are going in the wrong direction still. Now, Jerome Powell has not admitted any type of plan to pivot their plans until they reach their goals. So how much higher will interest rates go? That I cannot tell you. But all I can tell you is that interest rates will continue to go up. I mean, think about mortgages. Mortgages are now over 6%, and that's even with good credit. So if home affordability was unaffordable before, it's even more unaffordable. And the scary thing is that nationally, I'm speaking about nationally, obviously there's pockets of the country where this is not the case, but nationally speaking, housing prices are still not coming down. And what this means is that as mortgage rates continue to go higher and national home prices remain high, that means that home affordability, if you're looking to purchase real estate, if you're looking to purchase a new home, a single family residence, nationally speaking, housing prices are more expensive today than they were before. And as interest rates are increasing, we're not getting that housing market crash that a lot of people predicted would happen to essentially offset the higher interest rates. We're not seeing that. And so since housing is becoming more and more affordable and nationally speaking, housing prices are not going down, what do you think is happening with the rental market? The rental market is becoming more and more competitive. And with the more competitive rent market, that means that rent prices are continuing to go higher. In fact, this is driving up rent prices another 7% this year. And so more and more people are not able to afford to purchase homes. And when they cannot purchase homes, they're either having to renew their current rental lease or they're having to start a lease. They're having to rent because they're not able to buy. And so we're going to continue to see this pattern and things will get worse, folks. So I just want to share this update with you. Fed Chair Jerome Powell and the Federal Reserve raised interest rates another 75 basis points. This will affect families. Families are warned to prepare. Economic softening is coming. Unemployment will rise. We will see more layoffs. We will see more employees being fired. We will see higher costs of living, and credit card balances will continue to rise. So I encourage you guys to prepare and let me know if you have a plan. Comment down below if you have a plan, because if you don't have a plan, we need to have that type of conversation. I cannot believe a bug literally just went in my mouth at the end of my video. Anyway, so that wraps it up, folks. Drop me a comment down below if you have a plan, and also drop me a comment down below if you don't have a plan. And let's see what types of future conversations we need to have, because let's see if we can make it through this onto the other side. And because the goal here is survival. But on the other side of this, once we turn the corner, once we pivot from this awful situation right now, it's time to thrive. All right, folks, be safe.